In my recent vlog, we headed out to New Smyrna Beach to capture the coastal sunset. The conditions looked promising, and in the end, delivered. This was the raw file straight out of camera, a bit flat and underexposed, but with the right subtle workflow, we can turn it into this final masterpiece. Dramatic, but still natural looking. Today, I'm launching a brand new series called Editing My Best Shots, where I take the best shots from my vlog trips and show you my exact 4-step foundation, plus the advanced masking secrets and tricks I use to get that professional glow. Let's jump into Lightroom. This was shot at 16mm, f/13, 1/20th of a second, ISO 100. Let's dive into this edit. First off, we're gonna level the horizon. Right about there's good. Then we're just gonna give this a base exposure. We're gonna bring that exposure up, bring these whites down, highlights down. We were starting to approach clipping here, so we're gonna make sure that we get those under control. Perfect, something like that looks great. Boost up our shadows a little bit, bring our blacks up a touch, and that's not bad right there. And now is when you can adjust your white balance if you need to, but I think we're all set here because this matches just how I remember it and looks amazing. And now's the time when you want to clone out any sensor dust or debris. I have some right here. Here, let me zoom in real quick. Grab this, you see that? Had a little sensor dust there. Looks good, there's a few in the sky. Yep, right there. Now we can go down here to the tone curve, give it a real subtle S curve. We're gonna bring up these whites up here and then just drop these shadows down, bring that back down. That gives us a little more depth, as you can see, a little more contrast. And don't overdo it yet, we still have a ways to go. We're also gonna scroll down to the detail section and get rid of this sharpening for now. If you leave sharpening on now, it can cause artifacts down the line. Now we're gonna move on to some localized masking. And this is where you can really create some depth without overdoing it. A lot of people like to use the AI sky selection tool here, and I like to rely on the linear gradient. So let's get rid of that. We'll go back down here, linear gradient. Wherever you click is where it's gonna start, and you can hold shift to keep it level, and then drag it in a little bit. This way we don't get any bad halos or anything on high contrast areas, like the horizon. All right, so we'll just bring the sky down a little bit, bring that exposure down. We're gonna bring those highlights down a bit. I'm gonna bring the blacks down a touch. And you can see right there that brought out our sky definition a lot, but don't overdo it. Now we're gonna use some intersecting masks to target this water and these ridge lines and the sand and these tide pools. So let's go back over to our mask section. We're gonna create new mask. You can grab a brush to do this and just generally apply it to the area that you'd like to affect. So basically I would like to bring all this. Now we're gonna go up to that mask, click on these 3 dots here, intersect mask with luminance range. And here is where we can adjust where that mask affects the luminance within that selection. So I'm gonna grab the black point there and bring this up. I only wanna select the highlights and some of the midtones. And then you can grab this slider to kind of dictate how much of that fade happens. The more you fade this down to the blacks, the more natural it'll look, but the less localization you'll be editing. And the more this way, the more localized, but it will start to look fake when you edit it. So you gotta find that balance in between there. Somewhere in there looks pretty good. And if you ever wanna get rid of any of this stuff, you can always go up here to the brush, or subtract, brush, and you can take it out of any specific areas you might want to that you overdid it. All right, so we have our mask there. We're just gonna boost that exposure up and brighten those ridges and that water. Now don't overdo it because look, just a little bit really has a dramatic effect on that water and those ridges. So that looks good to me there, not bad. If you want, you can tweak your clarity to soften it up a little bit and then bring your texture back up a touch, and the texture will bring back a little bit of that definition. All right, now here you can adjust your saturation, your vibrance. Just don't overdo it too much, especially if you want to add Orton effects still in Photoshop, which we'll do right now. Let's jump over there. Take this over to Photoshop and give it an Orton effect for a beautiful ethereal glow. And let me show you how to do that. So we'll go down to our photo, right click, edit in, Adobe Photoshop. All right, let's run through this real fast. I'm gonna Command J and duplicate that layer. I'm gonna go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Your radius should be set to the megapixels of your camera, but I like to go a little under personally, so I do 20. My camera's 24 megapixels. Hit OK. Then you're gonna wanna put that layer into soft light blend mode. Then I like to add a levels,
hold Option, and click between the levels in the blur layer, and then you can control your exposure on that blurred layer, and that will determine how much glow shows up on some of these sections. And don't forget, you can do this localized too. You don't have to do the whole thing. So we're just gonna give it a little bit there, just to get that glow up. And then I'm gonna go down to that blur layer, double click, and this layer here, blend if, pull the blacks out. See how ugly that looks? But then we're gonna hold Option and split that. See, same thing. You want your black point to be low, but also fade it in to get a more natural look. All right, we'll hit OK. And we're gonna take that layer, reduce the opacity from 10 to 20%. Let's go heavy for this example. There you go, we're at 20. Yeah, and that looks great. Let's save it and do our final tweaks in Lightroom. All right, here we are. I'd like to darken it a little bit more. So I'm gonna bring an S-curve in. Gives it a bit more pop too. One more subtle S-curve there. All right, our histogram looks great. The image looks awesome. The raw file and the finished image. It's actually not too far off, and that's exactly how it looked when I was in the moment. When you want to create depth, you need to emphasize what's already there. Don't make artificial light. Don't crank all your sliders to 100. First off, you want to capture amazing light, but then you want to take that and emphasize that light in subtle ways, and before you know it, you'll have these dramatic, amazing images that still look natural, because they are. Please subscribe, watch another video, and we'll see you next time. Peace.